Coming up.
All the threats are equally of concern.
We have 2 threats in the system at this time. The first threat is showing an impact location of Chicago.
It's incredibly important that we defend our country.
Here in a remote part of Alaska's interior, a one-of-its-kind Army battalion stands watch around the clock with an important mission, keeping 300 million Americans safe. The threat, a critical national security priority and growing every day. So tonight, we take you inside America's shield in the sky. 100 often treacherous miles southeast of Fairbanks, Alaska. Here, the small town of Delta Junction sits next to a top-secret and highly secure Army installation few have ever visited.
We are truly isolated.
Military police patrol this site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's been said this base is impenetrable. So if somebody's thinking about sneaking on base,
we got him. Not happening.
Fort Greely, Alaska is located in some of the harshest, though most beautiful terrain in America.
90 degrees in the summer, all the way to minus 60, minus 70 in the winter. So it's a pretty austere environment.
The 800-acre base is one of just 2 military installations in the nation that house a highly sophisticated component of our nation's defense. The other is Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. That component, ground-based anti-ballistic missile interceptors, or GBIs.
We have over 200 soldiers of the Alaska National Guard.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Hatfield is the commanding officer of the 49th Missile Defense Battalion.
Our forces split up with military police doing the security mission and also missile defenders who are doing the strategic missile defense mission.
Missile defense is the military's program for shielding the nation from hostile incoming warheads. It is a complex system of satellites, radar sensors, and missiles, also known as interceptors, equipped with 5-foot-long bullets shown here called kill vehicles. At Fort Greely, 26 of these interceptors are in the ground and ready to fire. Lieutenant Colonel Hatfield showed them to us.
What we've taken you to now is one of our missile fields. That's actually the silo over there, and that's where the ground-based interceptor is currently located at this time.
It launches right here out of this frozen ground. How deep are they in the ground? How far apart?
Surprisingly smaller than what you would think. This is almost, if you'd imagine, like a large Walmart parking lot. It's what we have out here with interceptors spaced safely and distance from each other. And then underneath each one of these clamshells, you have roughly 100+ foot of silo.
If a threat came while you and I are having a conversation right now, these are loaded.
It's nice and warm right now underground, and it's ready to go. So we just got to pop that clamshell, and that interceptor will be out of here in seconds.
Since the beginning of the Cold War and the threat of nuclear annihilation, the United States has looked for ways not just to retaliate, but to actually stop a nuclear missile attack against the nation.
In the 1950s and 60s, when missile defense first became something that people were interested in, it was very hard to imagine being able to hit a bullet with a bullet.
Dr. Jeffrey Lewis is an expert on nuclear issues and arms control at the Monterey Institute of International Studies.
So you needed something like a nuclear weapon, which could just get close and still be able to destroy a missile.
The most memorable moment of the effort to destroy incoming missiles came on March 23, 1983, when President Ronald Reagan gave what became known as his Star Wars speech.
Reagan had this idealistic vision.
What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies?
I think over time, people have really come to admire the ambition and particularly the desire for eliminating nuclear weapons that lay behind it.
Today, this is how missile defense works. A network of land radar and satellites detects a missile aimed against the United States. From Fort Greely, a defensive missile is launched to meet the threat. In space, the kill vehicle separates from the rocket to hone in on the enemy warhead and knocks it out of flight. Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire is one of missile defense's biggest supporters. We spoke with her in her hometown of Nashua, New Hampshire. Senator, you've led the effort on missile defense. Why is it so important?
If we are attacked and someone shoots an ICBM missile at our country, don't we want to be able to defend our country and shoot it down?
One of the big challenges we have is, can you detect the launch early enough? And do you have the interceptors in the right spot so that they can provide defense against North Korea, Iran, whoever might launch.
Let's talk about those threats. How do you assess a country like Iran or North Korea?
Well, first of all, North Korea, some of their behavior has been very troubling. Obviously, we know they have nuclear weapons capability. They have also tested in 2012 the Taepodong-2, which is a long-range missile. And so it's a real concern for our country, given particularly the erratic behavior of the North Korean leadership and their new younger leader.
The Iranian case is difficult to assess for a different reason. The Iranians have a much better technological base.
The Director of National Intelligence testified before the Armed Services Committee that Iran could have ICBM capability as soon as 2015. Yes, 2015, Griff. So where are we now? Think about it, not too long off.
The North Korean threat is more immediate, but less technologically impressive. And the Iranian threat is longer term, but probably going to be more capable.
So we need to be prepared to defend against such a threat.
I would say all the threats are equally of concern. What we do is we maintain our readiness. Our soldiers are sitting there in front of the computer screens, constantly vigilant, constantly monitoring, and always ready.
Coming up,
Director, MCS reports a second quick alert.
a war game has America under attack.
Weapons officer, engage the threat to Chicago.
We are in the interior of Alaska, so we are truly isolated and forward deployed.
The conditions here at Fort Greely are some of the most inhospitable on planet Earth, but the soldiers of the 49th Battalion stand ready to defend America at a moment's notice.
We have multiple military police platoons that have the responsibility of defending the missile defense complex.
These MPs, these Alpha Company guys, they're out in this element. How much of an impact does it take on them physically?
Significant impact, not only from the darkness in the winter as a challenge for families and soldiers, but also the cold weather as well. We'll take you over to a couple of the soldiers here. You can ask them questions about, just the environment. They live it every day, and no one better to tell you what it's like living out here.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
What's a typical day like for you guys?
Biggest thing out here is safety, as you guys already know, and suffering a little bit right now in this wind.
Yeah.
But we check each other constantly, make sure we're okay.
It can take a toll on you. It's dark most of the winter. For about 8 months it's pretty dark, but being out here, the main thing, like Sergeant Lopez says, is safety. It's easy to get complacent out here. That's why our leadership, they make sure they stress that we're taking safety classes and we're taking cold weather classes.
Do you feel a sense of awe when you're patrolling and keeping these sites safe?
Of course, we know that we have the backup of the nation.
Perhaps the most secure location at Fort Greely is the Operational Fire Direction Center. Here, the 49th Missile Defense Battalion monitors the world for potential threats. Major Mike Rogers is the director of a 5-man team.
A variety of different things are getting launched into space all the time within the entire space community.
There are missile tests, space launches, actual missile launches in combat, like Syria.
For instance, China frequently tests their missiles
To give us a window when they're going to put it up, so that when we see that generated onto our system, it doesn't show as a threat.
If it was a threat, his team is ready. Can we go through a exercise?
We do. We have a scenario that's set up for you guys to give you an idea.
In this training drill, the U.S. comes under attack from multiple enemy warheads.
Director, MCS reports a quick alert.
Director, all subsystems or operational system is in alert. Copy. MDO, the GMD system is in alert status. We have one threat in the system. Request weapons free.
Director, MCS reports a second quick alert.
Copy.
Director forward, sensors confirm the second quick alert.
Copy. MDO, we have two threats in the system at this time. The first threat is showing an impact location of Chicago. We're engaging at this time. Weapons officer, engage the threat to Chicago with 2 GBIs, one from Vandenberg and one from Fort Greely.
Director, second threat showing impact location in San Francisco. Recommend you engage that threat, sir.
Copy. Second threat showing an impact location of San Francisco. We are engaging at this time.
This drill went on for 7 minutes.
Director, threat to Chicago has been destroyed. Copy. The second threat to San Francisco has been successfully intercepted and destroyed. There are no remaining threats. Request weapons hold status.
Director, system is weapons hold.
Copy. Crew, begin recovery operations.
The commitment of these soldiers is clear.
I say to the men and women at Fort Greely, your nation is grateful. We are so grateful for your service.
But the technology of ground-based missile defense is more controversial. In tests of this system, the success rate is only about 50%.
Some of that relates to engineering problems that exist just for the ground-based mid-course system.
A report released on January 27th of this year by the Pentagon's Director of Operational Test and Evaluation raised serious questions about the kill vehicle's ability to hit its target.
There are sort of two questions. There's, do you want to invest in missile defense? And then if you do want to invest in missile defense, do you want to invest in existing architecture or something different?
Countries like Iran and North Korea and other countries around the world, they keep investing in new technology, and we don't do that, then we fall behind.
Getting the technology right is all the more important as Washington considers a third site on the east coast of the United States. That site, costing an estimated $3.5 billion, would augment Fort Greely and Vandenberg specifically with an eye towards Iran.
Assuming we make the decision to build that East Coast missile defense site, it's about 4 to 5 years till we actually get it up and running. And so the longer we delay on this decision, Iran's capabilities may be far ahead of when we make the decision to actually build the East Coast missile defense site. So this is a very important issue in terms of decision making that should be done now.
What do the American people need to know all across the lower 48 about what's happening here?
I don't think people realize that we have this missile shield here, and we have this capability where we are defending the cities, the families, everything that we love about home.